Hey guys, and welcome to the Mixers review show. Tonight we've selected Method1 or Joel, South African mixer, to mix up. Um, I was quite interested to, just by chance went on his thread, on all the flavors as a mixer, and he's got quite a couple of recipes there, you know. And him producing commercial e-liquid to also have so many recipes out there available, for people to go and mix up. He's got a couple of bases as well. He's got a fried banana base. Um, and his most recent one was just released the other day, A Better World, right? So I went along and I mixed up She's a Peach. Now, I've been looking now. I actually selected this specific one because peach is a bit of a tough one for me personally because every single peach that I've tried from a commercial perspective has been a little bit harsh. So you have to do a little bit to it in order to make sure that the peach doesn't come off as harsh. Um, uh, and I think the he used the right peach in here, which is also my favorite one. It might just be the other ones that are harsh, but he used JF Honey Peach, and that's my absolute favorite peach from all the peaches that I've tried. But this recipe is Candy Cotton TFA, Fresh Cream FA, Honey Peach Jungle Flavors, and then Cap Super Sweet Vanilla Bean Ice Cream TFA, and FA Yogurt. Okay, so I mixed up about 20 mils of this because I was quite afraid, of another peach recipe that I just don't like. But I think the things here that surprised me is just, how Joel has, bent the peach. I think originally, maybe the profile that he was going after here was that peach beachy, because there's a a good resemblance there. Of course, that's the Jungle Flavors honey peach, but with the FA yogurt added to it, a little bit of tartness and sourness, that note, it really bends that peach nicely. So he uses FA cream fresh and vanilla bean ice cream over here to give that peach a lot more body. And cream and peach is a good combination, a good profile combination. And then he uses two sweeteners. I think the cotton candy also adds a very nice dimension over here. He uses 1% cotton candy and then 0.3% super sweet. So there's a lot of sweetener in here. And that's what drew me to this recipe. And I can see myself playing around with these three here. So I can see myself playing around now with honey peach, cotton candy. I'll probably sub out Iffa yogurt for creamy yogurt cap, but and see what the difference is with leaving out vanilla bean ice cream and trying to incorporate, something a little bit more candy from my side. But I was really surprised with this profile here. This is really good. If you are into a peach recipe or peach recipes and you're looking for a creamy peach, this is definitely one that you need to mix up. I would say after about, and it's really low. I mean, the total flavoring is sitting at 7.3%. So, in my mind, anything under 10% is good, just because you're not using a lot of concentrate, but 7.3%, I was gobsmacked with how much flavor this has, especially after about 2 days. It really turns. Day three, it's extremely good. I think after about a week of steeping this, it's going to blow your socks off. I just want to thank Joel for giving this recipe, um, because I'm definitely going to play around with this. This was a good surprise for me.
I'm not a big user of EM and cotton candy. What do you feel it's bringing to this juice that you wouldn't get just say with straight super
Super
sweet?
sweet. I think it, when you, when you're looking for, to make a peach a little bit more candy-like, um, if you have honey peach and just add super sweet to it, you're just getting a sweeter honey peach, right? But by adding cotton candy to it, I think it adds elements of a candy in there. So I think that's what it does. I'm definitely getting a little bit more TFA cotton candy, playing around with those two sweetness because I really love gummies and candies. And I think by mixing those two, super sweet and cotton candy together, it just boosts that candy profile that you're looking for.
So it's more overtly a candy. It's not an authentic peach.
No, I would definitely, for me, definitely this is a candy. Yeah. Um, I think even if you wanted to, you could potentially add some jelly candy to this and make it a really good gummy candy, and maybe drop out the vanilla bean ice cream. So just get a peach gummy. I'm definitely going to play around with this a little bit more, but if you are into a peach recipe or peach cream recipe, then go for it. I think that's what Joel was doing. He was taking that honey peach, because the honey peach on its own, I'm not saying it's artificial, but it does have it's very fragrant, you know, and it does give me an idea of like the type of peach that you would get in a iced tea, for instance. So a very sweet peach. So definitely not an authentic bite juicy peach kind of vibe. I don't think he was looking for that. I think he was. It definitely is not on the on the extreme side of candies. It's just touching that. That's that's my opinion here.
It's interesting as well that he went for just a single peach flavor,
Yeah.
because peach is one of those profiles that people tend to buff a lot. It'll be two peaches or three peaches or a peach and an apricot or a peach and something else. It's not often that you find a peach recipe with just one peach uh, flavor in it.
Yeah, I think over here, because honey peach is just so fragrant. It sits high, and it sits high quite well on its own. Um, if you make a single mix of just honey peach, it's extremely flat. Because it's so fragrant and at the top. So, what he did over here is to create that layer: vanilla bean ice cream and cream fresh together, plus Effa yogurt. I think you can even sub Effa yogurt here for cream yogurt, and you'll get exactly the same thing. But that yogurt in there, that sourness of yogurt, bends that peach a little bit to give you, uh, you know, um, almost like a, I don't know how to explain it, but that beaches peach. So I think maybe that's what he was after initially, or chasing. This is interesting. Very nice. I'll put it in here, in my RSQ, and I've got it on the Hadley, and I've been enjoying this over some of my own DIY stuff now for the last day or so.
Good. Well, I mixed up, being a bakery nut, I mixed up two of Joel's bakeries. The first one is his French Fellow, which is a clone of French Dude. I've never tasted the original, but again, that doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm after juices for taste, not for whether they're close to an original or not. Just have a look at the recipe quickly. It's JF biscuit, I think he said that you could use Inawera as well, but that he liked the JF. I use the JF. I don't like new Inawera biscuit. Then FW blueberry, TFA butter, cap butter cream, TFA French vanilla creme, TFA Belgian waffle, and Inawera waffle. And that unfortunately makes this a very difficult recipe to mix because Inawera waffle is no more and can't be sourced anywhere. I still have a bottle which I got from Joel himself, coincidentally. So, so I can still mix it, but most people won't be able to mix it. He again gives notes that the Inawera waffle isn't absolutely necessary, but for me, it's a key player in this. TFA Belgian waffle doesn't do it on its own. You need the authenticity of that toasted Inawera waffle note to pull it off. And this one has relevance to what I was saying about the peach recipe, that it's not very often that you find a blueberry recipe. Not that this is a blueberry recipe. It's a pancake, at least a waffle with blueberry syrup.
Yes.
So it's not heavy on the blueberry, but even still, it's not very often that you find a blueberry mix that just has one blueberry in it. And this is the thing I like the most about it. Blueberry for me is a really tough profile. I found that most people tend to overdo it badly. So what you end up with is an extremely potent blueberry top note with a base kind of being stomped all over by the blueberries on top of it. And this is particularly so when you use strong blueberry flavors like FA Bilberry as part of your blueberry mix. I've had so many blueberry juices where the blueberry just dominates everything to the exclusion of everything else. And even though it might be a tasty blueberry, the whole thing just goes very quickly out of whack for me. With this juice, it doesn't. What I get is a beautifully balanced buttery waffle with just a hint of blueberry that's woven into the waffle. It doesn't stand apart from it. It integrates into the waffle beautifully. You get that very strong buttery note from both the TFA butter and the cap buttercream. Lovely waffle base with the TFA Belgian and the Inawera. Then the TFA French vanilla cream just to smooth it out and add some mouthfeel and body to the whole thing. And just that single FW blueberry note, and not very high either, 2.5% is not excessive at all for FW blueberry. People use it up to 6, 7, 8% sometimes. So this is a really finely balanced blueberry or a recipe with a blueberry note in it for me. And as a bakery fan, it's a really top-notch recipe for me. Even if you don't like blueberry or you find a lot of blueberry recipes miss the spot for you, I think this will do it because it's just the blueberry is balanced so beautifully with that waffle base and the creaminess and the butteriness as well. As I say, I don't know how close it is to the original French dude, but on its own, just tasting it from scratch without any preconceived notions of what it would taste like, this was an immediate win for me. It does take a little bit of time just to settle down with the biscuit and the waffle bases and
because it says here 7 days, right?
Yeah, well, for me that's 7 weeks. I mean, I always take people's steep days to be steep weeks.
Weeks.
And it just gets better. It's one of those recipes like Simply Cannoli. It just, the longer you leave it, the better and smoother and more rounded and more mellow it becomes. And that blueberry sits further and further and further down in the base. It's really great. I suppose at some point the blueberry might actually melt away into almost nothing, but I think that would be many months down the line. I think you can safely steep this for a month or 2 months and you're still going to get a cracking juice at the end of it. So a bit of a bummer that you need Inawera waffle to make it as Joel mixed it, but I suppose going for the Belgian waffle, maybe adding some LB Belgian waffle could perhaps do it as well.
Yeah,
But I do it with the Inawera because
you have
that's
it.
the OG. And yeah, I have it, and that's how I like it. So that was the first one. The second one,
No, but hang on here. Um,
oh wait,
so, did you
you
mix it
have
up with the super
questions?
sweet?
No, 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 no.
Because you just avoided that topic
Yeah,
completely.
no. Super sweet, I always avoid. I can't do sweetener at all. I seem to be getting over it a little bit now. I've noticed just in recent couple of weeks that the juices are tasting less sweet. It's like my palate goes up and down. I go through a period where absolutely everything, even juices that don't have sweetener in, taste too sweet to me, and then they sort of dial back a bit, and it's okay. I don't know what it is, whether it's just a function of the amount of time I'm steeping it for, whether it's other things that are happening with my palate, but I really struggle with sweetener most of the time. So
It's your VG. It's super sweet VG.
yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's also one of those things that the less you use it, the less you want to use it.
But yeah. Now we,
You
we
know,
need we need you to taste to do some more reviews on commercial juice so we can wean you onto super sweet
I actually, these
slowly.
these cloudberry mixes were okay for me. The berry was very sweet.
Mm.
I found that to be exceptionally sweet, but most of the rest were okay. This French fellow is perfect without the sweetening. I lack for nothing in that. I wouldn't add super sweet into it. If you prefer a slightly sweeter juice, then go for it. Might help that blueberry to pop a little bit as well. But my whole point is that I don't want the blueberry to pop. I don't want it to stand out. I want it to blend with the cream and the butter into that waffle base, and it does that really superbly. Just the way it is.
He's done a lot of work here to, you know, make sure that uh, the blueberry kind of is woven into the waffle, because you can see it with TFA butter, um, cap buttercream, and French vanilla cream. All of those together, I can just imagine, you know, how well that would sit almost like as a middle note, you know, on top of the waffle, but blend in with it. And then the blueberry on top would easily, especially with that French vanilla cream, I think it will, like you said, woven into the waffle opposed to on top of it.
The waffle is really good as well because it's not a thick and stodgy waffle. It's like a craft waffle. It's something that's homemade. That's come out of the waffle iron at like some really top end restaurant. It's almost like a chef waffle. It's not one of these. Like the LB waffle tastes like a frozen waffle that you microwave. It just doesn't quite have that solid feel to it. This is a really good waffle.
This is a
But
he waffle. Yeah.
yeah, but that again is Inawera waffle. It's I mean there are some things that I disagree with idiots about, but the one thing I don't is that we need to invade Poland like yesterday. Inawera needs to be brought to book for what they've done to the DIY community. I mean, it's a crime against humanity, and they shouldn't be allowed to get away with
I
it. And
mean,
they kill waffle, they kill biscuit. Yes, man.
yeah, I've got about 10 mils left of the OG biscuit. If I have to show you the difference between the old biscuits and the new biscuit, just in color, because the OG biscuit discolors over time, but the new biscuit kind of stops, so there's quite a difference between the two. I mean, it tastes completely different. I still have like I think about 9 mils, between 9 and 10 mils left of the OG. So I'm
I
thinking of mixing up simply cannoli with that.
I made simply cannoli with a new one, and I let it steep for like 7 weeks, which was my average on it. And cracked it open the one night, and I thought, now we are going to feast because we've got a properly steeped simply cannoli. And I tasted it, and it was like one of those, what the hell type of moments. It was like, where did this cock come from? It was just rubbish, absolute rubbish.
Yeah, there's a moment in Simply Cannoli. I would say at about day 7 or 8, you get this funny off note on it. Obviously, here by day 10, between day 10 and 12, that literally just magically goes away. You know, and when that recipe was released, of course, when they did the cannoli challenge, what was it? Maybe 3 or 4 days when the guys were tasting it. Um, I have no idea how the people were rating that recipe high because it tastes like garbage after about 2 to 3 days, and then at like 7 days, I can remember still asking on the WhatsApp group, asking everybody what the hell is going on because my cannoli just tastes like a bad batch. And then I left it for another 4 days, and when I tasted it again, it's like that whole note just disappeared, and it was perfect. So,
And then you wait until like 3, 4 months, and it just turns to velvet. It's absolutely stunning. But what I want to know is how Transnet developed that in a week.
do you think it
They
was
had a,
luck, or is he just brilliant?
I think it's probably a recipe that he had been working on anyway.
Yeah.
But the thing is, weren't they given uh, the concentrates to use? They had to use Inawera biscuit, and they had to use some other stuff in it. I think there was something like that.
Mm.
So even if he had been working on it, he may have had to tweak it. He may have had other stuff in there and had to tweak it to add those things in. But how he stumbled across a recipe like that with a 7-day development time is beyond me, because as you say, it doesn't even blossom within the 7 days.
No.
You need to taste it after 2 weeks to even get an idea
Mm.
of where you're going with it. So yeah, I don't know how that happened. I assume he must have been working on it, because it's so, it gives the notion as well of a recipe that's been batched properly.
Yeah,
The
because
percentages in that aren't luck. It's not just something he hit first time. It's something he went up and down and in the middle and tweaked and rebalanced and modified, and then only got to the right.
I, I,
Uh,
s- I swear to God, um, when in my previous job, there was a guy that smoked, and he said, "Hey man, what are you vaping? It smells delicious." And I said, "No, it's this DIY recipe that I got off the internet. It's called Simply Cannoli. It's just a cannoli." And I was still vaping out of some random RDTA at the time, but dual coil, good flavor. And I gave it to him to vape, and he was just blown away. He literally bought himself a vape that week, and he asked me to make him that recipe, and he wanted me to buy that. He wanted to buy that from me, and I taught him how to mix up, and he was only interested in mixing up this recipe. He said that he could taste the powdered sugar in that recipe sitting on top of that simply cannoli, and I hadn't even noticed it at that time until I started thinking about it while vaping it, and then thinking, wow, yes, that can actually, and that's, I think it's the joy that does that, that gives you that like powdered sugar. I don't know, not sure.
no, it's just a crazy good recipe. But the thing I like about it, and which is the same as this French fellow, it's one taste. I
Mm,
mean, it has notes in it, but it's not. There isn't an unnatural separation between the elements. It hangs together as one experience, as one taste sensation, which to me is the mark of a really well batched and well crafted juice. And we had this when we reviewed Juice Fairy stuff a couple of weeks ago as well. That her stuff really hangs together well as a single taste, experience.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of French fella. Mix it
Yeah.
up if you have in a waffle. If you don't, well, sucks to be you. So the second one I mixed up is another difficult one because it also has a rare ingredient. This is his lead Zepola. I hope I'm saying that with the right Italian inflection. But this is Flavor West Bavarian Cream, FA Butterscotch, FA Caramel, Nick Vape Old Fashioned Donut, TFA Marshmallow, OOO Powdered Sugar, and wouldn't you know, a little bit of Cap Super Sweet, which I actually did add to this one. Okay, now the secret ingredient in that, and the difficult one, is the Nick Vape Old Fashioned Donut. Why Nick Vape haven't taken off, I don't know. Their flavors are really good. I bought probably 6 or 7 of them. None of them were off. Decent strength. They're about TFA strength, but good flavors. You don't get much fade from them. There's no off notes. So they're pretty useful and versatile flavors, but for some reason they just never really took off in DIY. But this old-fashioned donut is really good. It's just basically a greasy fried cinnamon donut.
Mm-hmm.
And Joel built the rest of the recipe around this. The Bavarian cream just adds that sort of creamy, infused creamy note to it, as does the powdered sugar and the marshmallow. You get that sort of sugary sweetness. Then the butterscotch and caramel, which is infused into the cream to make it a kind of caramel cream in the center of the donut.
Yes.
And then you've got the Nick Vape old-fashioned donut as the body, just accented with the FA Zepola.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about this, for me again, although it's not so much a function of the mix, but more a case of the balance between the donut bases, is that cinnamon is another very difficult flavor for me. There's a temptation among a lot of mixers to overdo cinnamon. And that isn't helped by Flavora-rich cinnamon being so incredibly
Super
potent.
powerful, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you add 1 drop to a 30 ml, and that makes it very difficult to work with because you might only want 2/3 of a drop in 30 ml, or you might want 1.2 drops. So now, how do you get that fraction of a drop and to get the cinnamon just right? So it's probably a flavor that works better with a dilution, in my view. Of course, it's not in this, and Joel doesn't use a discrete cinnamon in it. What he's doing is using the cinnamon from the Nick Vape old-fashioned donut. And again, it's layered in really beautifully. It doesn't jump out at you. It's not a top note. It doesn't stand apart from the mix. It just settles into that creamy, fluffy, but dense donut base, and you get the feeling that it's infused throughout the donut, that it's baked in. It's not a powdered cinnamon, sitting on top of the donut. So two really difficult difficult accents to get well: blueberry and cinnamon, and both of them are absolutely beautifully nailed. I'm not a huge fan of cinnamon. If a recipe has a strong cinnamon note, there's a chance I won't like it. This has a subtle cinnamon note, and it works beautifully because it's on point for the profile. I mean, it is a donut after all.
Yeah.
So it works really well. It's got that nice creaminess that goes with it. Quite a bit of sweetness as well from the caramel butterscotch combination there. I actually did add the super sweet into this, and it does work well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good fluffy fried cinnamon donut.
That's
so,
such a risk taker, hey? Did you you just felt like it that day? Let's do this. 0.25 super sweet.
Let's do 0.25 super sweet. Yeah.
Yes. Very cool.
It does work though. It's a great recipe.
I have so many Bavarian creams. I just don't have Flavor West Bavarian cream here. I see Joel says here, Flavor West Bavarian cream adds a nice mouthfeel and texture, as if the donut was infused with some cream. So, What what specifically makes this Bavarian cream the one to go for in this application, of course?
I think most would work, but as he said, it's the mouthfeel. The FW is quite dense. I found it's probably my favorite Bavarian cream, not from a flavor point of view. I think the TFA is better from a flavor point of view, but from a texture point of view, I like the FW. It's just got that more solid body to it. I really like the FW, the feel that it adds to a
Yeah,
recipe.
to a mix. Cool. So yeah, I think thumbs up all around. For the recipes that we have mixed up. Thank you very much, Joel, for releasing these. I'm definitely going to be mixing up variations of She's a Peach. I might look at remixing my own variation of that. But yeah, thank you very much for releasing this. Um, then on to notes. Is there anything specific that you want to chat about, Rich?
I thought I'd give TFA Ruby Chocolate a go. Um, I bought this having read Concrete River's notes on it and seen his review on it. And it's a really strange flavor.
TFA? Ruby?
TFA Ruby Chocolate. I believe it's one of their, I don't know if it's one of their newer ones, but it's one that wasn't very popular until recently. It might be one of the older line that they've just now kind of relaunched for vaping, but it's just really weird because the profile is it's red berries in chocolate. Now, for me, red berries scream milk chocolate, and apparently that is what Ruby chocolate is. It's a milk chocolate
Mm.
with a red berry note or a syrup or red berry chunks or whatever in it, and that works for me because you've got the dairy offsetting the red berries.
Mm.
To put it in a darker chocolate is just odd. I mean, I know strawberries and chocolate can go together and so on, but to have this kind of generic red berry, probably a little bit more raspberry than anything else, with a darkish chocolate, it's two very strong flavors sitting together. For me, a white chocolate, a creamy white chocolate without that strong cocoa taste is a much better fit because you get the tartness or the richness of the berry coming through with the chocolate just sitting underneath it. Now with this, what's happening is you're getting two very strong notes kind of fighting each other, and they don't clash so much, but it's just a really odd flavor. What it tastes like, um, and I'm going to unashamedly steal Concrete's description here, but he says it tastes like raspberries dusted with cocoa powder,
Mm.
which is just odd. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Really, it's a decent chocolate. I mean, TFA chocolates aren't great, but they're not the worst either. And this is one of their better ones. It doesn't have that latexy, chalky nastiness about it, but it does come across as quite dry and powdery. So it gives the impression of dry berries with dry cocoa
Chocolate.
powder.
Yeah.
Yeah, dusted on. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's full on cocoa. It's like a mix between cocoa and drinking chocolate kind of thing. But it's not very creamy. It's not like a raspberry with a chocolate, melted chocolate coating around it. It's more like it's been dusted, and it is strange. I mean, I have no idea what I would do with this. I mean, it works as a one shot, but what do you add for it? You could maybe add a cream to
Mm.
try and moisten that chocolate up a bit and try and get it into a state where it's fruit with a melted chocolate coating around it. But further than that, I can't really see anything. I can't think of any profile that calls for cocoa powder and raspberries.
Berries. Yeah.
It's just a completely bizarre mixture.
Unless unless you're looking for something like a Turkish delight. So if you know, um, there's like a berryness and a berry jelliness inside chocolate there. So you could potentially apply it in that way. I saw Concrete also said here, Concrete River, not a Tootsie Roll or Band-Aid type chocolate flavor, could use some more creaminess for full chocolate. So adding more cream, is good, like it could benefit from that.
Yeah, I think he said something as well about you not going to be able to get away from one or the other. It's got to be used in a recipe that needs both the berry and the chocolate because they're both too prominent.
Mm.
What just vaping it again now, what strikes me though is that they both hit you at the back of the throat, but with slightly different intensity. But it's the same kind of hit and the same kind of almost a slightly acrid flavor. So it's like a double punch at the back of your throat with the same kind of notes almost fighting with each other. It's a bizarre flavor. Look, it's not bad to vape on its own. I could vape this as a one shot. Maybe add some, vanilla cream or something to it to moisten it up a bit and add a little bit more mouthfeel. But that's basically it. It's chocolate covered berries. That's really all you're going to be able to use it
For
for. I mean, you might be able to slap in some cheesecake or something and try and get it like a berry cheesecake with a chocolate topping or something. But I don't know. I don't know what TFA were even trying to do. I mean, why did they go for a dark chocolate and not a milk chocolate? Because TFA's milk chocolate is, or their white chocolate at least, is very good. I
mm,
mean, pepper notes aside, but it's a decent white chocolate. So for me, mixing up a raspberry with a white chocolate would make a lot more sense because then you can layer it into bakeries and so on because you've got the berry top note. The white chocolates, it's more like a dense cream
yes,
anyway. So you're getting almost like a fruity cream, which you can then add to
yeah,
cheesecakes or cookies or, whatever it is that you want. But that chocolate note, that milk chocolate or medium dark chocolate note, just kind of throws everything into slightly strange territory. But it is what it is. So, yeah, maybe not for the faint-hearted, and certainly not a very versatile flavor. But if berries and chocolate is your thing, this isn't a bad one. I actually quite like this chocolate
yeah.
flavor. If they,
I was gonna ask you, is it a toot or is it a boot? What would you say? Would you buy it? Would you think people should buy it if that's what they
no,
want?
look, if you've absolutely got everything else and you want something that's quite bizarre just to mess around with, sure. If you're starting out DIY, don't buy this. You're not going to see a lot of use for this. There are almost no recipes for it. I think Concrete brought out one recipe with whiskey in it or something for it, but it's a Concrete recipe. It's kind of strange,
Mm.
so it's probably not the type of thing that beginning DIYs are going to try, and you're not going to find much else for it, and you're not going to be able to do much with it. You're going to have to be a really, Joel will be able to use this. You'll be able to craft this into a recipe that's tasty and that works, and that offers something just a little bit different than berries and chocolate.
Yeah,
But if you're not at Joel's level, I think you're going to struggle to use this.
cool. All right, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe and also, remember to add comments below and we'll get back to you on that. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining, guys.
Thanks, guys.